ScrantonRoadMinistries.org, ScrantonRoadMinistries.org, or ScrantonRoadPromo.org, ScrantonRoadPromo.org for more information. You can ask for our good friend Mike Carswell, who joins us here in overtime every once in a while. We're going to talk worship wars in just a few minutes, but we are getting to the point of awkward of her not being here. Mm-hmm. What do we do? Should I I wish I could lock the door just to be like, oh, too late. Here, wait.
I thought I was winning. Wow, seriously? No? Wow, dude. Oh my gosh. You were late yesterday, so I was like, he needs to work.
I was working yesterday.
Extra. What were you doing?
I was
Thank you. You were probably talking to Pete.
Yes, the videographer.
I just made up your excuse.
Which I'm pretty close to getting my cameo. Pretty close.
We'll see.
You were on fire. You should have seen her. You were on fire yesterday with that video.
Aw. I can't wait. So many of you have registered today for the Renew webinar September 12th at 1 p.m. And so we'll see if he makes the video, the cameo for the video. You guys comment now and let me know.
It was interesting too.
If you want him there.
The videographer hadn't spent much time with Janelle. I knew him pretty well. His name's Pete Campbell. Great guy. One of my favorite moments was he was like, you guys need to stand really close to each other. And we got close. And he had to be careful how he said it. So he said, wow, Brian's a lot taller than you.
It was like, that's the last thing you need to tell Brian. You already talked about it.
He had a hard time framing the shot.
Yeah, you're not
because you're way
tall.
down there.
You're not even that tall.
Yeah, so what does that tell you?
You're not. I'm average for a woman. Thank you. Average height. Thank you.
I'm average for a woman. Height.
I had to make sure because I knew you were gonna grab onto that.
See, you've worked with me long enough.
Oh my goodness.
So we're gonna talk about the worship wars today while Janelle gets things up and rolling.
Somebody already texted and was like, "Hello, duh. Hymns are better than all contemporary music," and
yeah,
they laughed.
We've got hymns. People who love hymns. Now, before we get into the concept of the worship wars today, we're going to look at data that runs against, I think, commonly understood ideas when it comes to the worship wars and hymns versus contemporary worship. I happen to really like hymns.
Yeah.
Oof, they're good.
Like, there's actually an album of a guy named Jaden Lovick, maybe about 10 years ago, released an album where he plays acoustic guitar primarily and sings old hymns. And he does it in a way that really honors the original intent and melody line and such.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful. I mean, he did What a Friend We Have in Jesus, Amazing Grace, a bunch of those old ones, right? So I love that. I went to a church in Chicago for a number of years that we had every Sunday. Our worship was a pipe organ and a hymnal.
Oh, wow.
And I really like it for a lot of reasons. So as we talk about this, don't think that you've got somebody over here who doesn't like hymns, trying to push down the hymns.
Yeah.
But I think you hymn lovers have an argument you've made that just isn't valid, that you think helps you win the debate.
Do you think the debate is generational? Or do you think...
I think a lot of it
cultural?
is. Don't you think? A lot of it's denominational. I think some of it, though, is... there's some denominations who have just decided they're better. Like they've got everything figured out, everyone else is stupid. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't subscribe to that thinking. So the worship wars is an old idea, but if you're new to it, it's the idea of contemporary worship versus old hymns. So I've got some research to look at here in just a second.
Can you imagine Jesus watching us debate about worship music?
Yeah.
Like if we physically could see him, like he would probably be like, "What are y'all doing?"
Or he'd be like, just asleep in the boat. He'd probably be in the back like.
Yes.
So.
What's up, people on YouTube? I see you. Make sure you subscribe. Don't miss out. Be a part of the YouTube family. Mike says, Janelle, I need coffee for overtime as well because you're awesome, Mike. And I know he was talking junk while I wasn't here. What's up, Leslie? In the house. She says, current work schedule usually keeps me from joining you. So I'm so happy to be here this morning.
Oh, good to see you, Leslie.
You know what, though? I was going to give her the bell. You think you funny. You took my bell.
I didn't take
Thank you.
Oh.
I've been looking for it all day.
No.
See that? Wow. Oh, my gosh. That's for Leslie. Leslie's awesome. What's up, Sharon and Deborah, Theola, Hola,
Are we having
and
connection
Carrie?
problems again, Kelly? Are we okay?
No, I think we're good.
It's frozen. Were you refreshing?
What's up, YouTube? We see
Oh, yeah,
us
we're
on
all right.
YouTube. I see you people on YouTube. As we continue the discussion, you can comment on YouTube and we see you and we interact. So join the conversation.
All right, so one of the common arguments made by those who prefer hymns over contemporary worship is they say hymns are objectively better because they contain deeper theology.
Yeah.
You contemporary worship lovers, you could change Jesus with boyfriend and it would still fit.
It's like a love song.
Yeah, and all you ever do is just talk about yourself and you just repeat the same things over and over again. That's what they say. So like your contemporary worship's garbage, we should listen to hymns. Now again, I like hymns. I think I've even made that argument before, that they are more theological. But do I have data to support that? Well, a new study wanted to examine that. So it's at a university, they got together and they studied the 30 most popular hymns and the 30 most popular worship songs over the past 5 years to compare statistically their theological content. Now, again, this was at Southern Wesleyan University. Scholars there used copyright information to assess the most popular worship songs. And then they went to hymnary.org and assessed the most popular hymns. So what did they find? So the average age of the worship song they studied was only 7 years old. So these really are contemporary worship songs.
Yeah.
Only average age 7 years old. Some were new, some were older than that, but there you go. The average age of the hymn was 165 years old.
That's crazy.
So that they looked at legitimate old school hymns if the average age is 165 years old. The results of the survey are absolutely fascinating. They can be summarized in one sentence. Quote, "The study did not find a notable difference in the theological content of the older and newer songs."
I'm sorry. This is bothering me. Is that what you would do when you were a teacher? Just stop when you saw a kid?
You're a mom. Moms do whatever they
Okay,
want.
go
whenever
ahead.
They want to do it. Again, the study did not find a notable difference in the theological content of the older and newer songs. Now, there are some slight statistical differences in references to the Holy Spirit, God the Father, God the Son, the number of songs that reference the Father and Son's relationship, unspecified vague language. But to give you an example, modern worship referenced God the Holy Spirit more often than hymns. 5% of the modern worship songs reference the Holy Spirit. Only 2% of the hymns did.
Well, was the focus more on the Father with hymns, or
Hymns focused on God the Father more,
Yeah.
but contemporary worship did as well, and it was a statistical tie between hymns and modern worship in the number of times they referenced God the Son.
Wow.
And so there really isn't a difference in the theology. So suddenly, one of the main arguments for hymn advocates is, dare I say, totally irrelevant. So are the worship wars then truly left with just subjective preference?
Carrie says, first of all, wait, hold on. Stacy says, Janelle, I say the same thing. What would God really say about music war? I have a friend that attends a church with no music, old hymns. One man sings because their church says musical instruments are not in the New Testament. I've heard that. I got a friend who only listens to Christian music. She says the singing cannot be too dramatic because then it brings glory to the singer. It can't have drums, like percussions. So that's, Stacy, even more extreme. That's crazy.
Stacy, I would love to have just a friendly conversation with that friend of yours. There's musical instruments all over the Old Testament. There's cymbals.
Yeah.
There's, trumpets. I don't get it. I don't get that.
Carrie says some hymns have wrong theology and some contemporary songs have wrong theology.
Sure.
I love hymns, but there are some I don't sing. There are contemporary songs I love. I sing because of the words. You can't make a blanket statement about either one.
Yeah, and I'm actually kind of relieved that this study was done finally.
Yeah.
Because it's an irritating, kind of condescending thing to say to someone who prefers modern worship over hymns. To be like, well, mine's better because mine's more theological, as in yours are just dumb and shallow, which is statistically now not true.
And I know there are levels. There's the generational aspect. I think there's a cultural aspect too. And as a person that has heard sermons on this and heard people talking about it, it's also dismissive of culture. You know, I've heard people say, well, hymns are more theological, and they gave a whole reason. But then I'm thinking, okay, so then what are we doing in my entire island when I go to their services and they don't sound like the services here in churches that are playing only hymns? Like, if you think of how big the world is and all the different cultures and people that love Jesus, you don't think that's a little like prideful? There's another word.
Ethnocentric.
That's what I was looking for. To be like, dude, you got hundreds of countries and you're going to say no hymns and this is
And you think your super white hymnal singing pipe organ thing is the only way to worship?
Dude, that's
so that
crazy.
means no one in poverty-stricken areas without a pipe organ because they're expensive is worshiping.
Yeah.
That's silliness.
And you talked about Ghana and worship there, how different it is, but how it touched you of like, wow, these people.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of dancing, but it was from the men. The men were sweating
that's what it was.
and dancing, and the women were not.
So it's not hymn versus contemporary, but it's the whole, there's different styles, there's
Yep.
different ambiance and environments in different countries.
But you know what? Like, think about the theological content even of the first few lines of Amazing Grace. They're beautiful because they're not contemporary language, so you feel like you're being really deep. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound. Well, God's grace. It saved a wretch like me. I'm a sinner.
Yeah.
I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Like, I'm saved. God's grace is good. I'm a sinner. I'm saved. Contemporary worship says that all the time.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, there's one famous one, our God saves, said over and over again.
Yeah.
Isn't that essentially the message of Amazing Grace?
Yeah. Oh, that's
I'm a sinner and God saved me?
Yeah. Leslie says, I think the difference for me is whether or not the music draws me deeper into worship, deeper into relationship with my Father. So it would be an individual matter depending on the worshiper. Also, we have to remember that we are worshiping Him, not us. So our personal preference is somewhat irrelevant. But then you mentioned off air, there's a heart language for worship and songs. Is it irrelevant? Like if you're like, no, this doesn't draw me as close as other songs, does God say, dude, it's not about you or the song?
Well, I don't know if it's irrelevant. It's just what we do with it. The best description of, like, this is my theory, the heart language of worship. It's best understood in the context of a heart language in general. Can you explain that? Because you have one. And you're
So
bilingual,
I'm
not.
fluent in
Spanish?
I'm fluent in Spanish. I'm fluent in Spanish and fluent in English. And so your heart language, can you tell me like what angle you were, because I'm...
Well, I mean, just explaining generally what it is. What is that? What does that mean, a heart language? Like, when you're bilingual, your heart language is the one you...
Like your native tongue, the one you grew up with, the one you
The one you dream in.
You dream in, you think in. And it also matters in terms of relationship. So there's a higher level of connection when a person speaks your love language. They could be your friend.
Heart
they could
language.
be your heart. What did I say?
You said love language, but whatever.
Your heart
True,
language.
but-
They could be your friend. They can kick it with you, everything. But the minute they speak your heart language, it's just intimate and it draws you in. And so it's not a preference. It's just what your heart language is. Like, for example, if you put yourself in that, you are fluent in English. If you learn French and eventually become fluent and you go to France, you'll speak French with everybody that's there. But the minute you find someone that understands English, I don't care if decades have gone by that you've lived in France, it's different. The connection with that person will be different. There's jokes I can never tell Brian because I'll translate the joke and he'll be like, or expressions that we say in Spanish that I'm like, wow, like I can never tell you this because you won't get it. And so there's always a gap when you don't speak somebody's heart language. And so that happens, you say, with music.
Well, this is my personal theory that I don't think I stole from anybody else. If I did, forgive me. But
You should write
it's
that down.
I think we have a heart language of worship.
Yeah.
The principle being, is there a certain style or genre of music in Christendom that just does that for you?
Yeah.
It lights you up. You're like, where you go, I really only feel like I'm worshiping when I listen to hymns, contemporary worship,
Yeah.
Chris Tomlin's writing, gospel, hip hop, rap, whatever it is. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because some people would, I mean, there's some deep theology. Probably some of the deepest is in hip hop and rap in Christian music.
Oh, really?
When you listen to Lecrae, sometimes he's dropping
That's
theology
tight.
that other people are not even close to.
Other
getting.
people will hear that and be like, how secular and disrespectful.
No.
I can think of people right now that would straight up listen to Lecrae and say, what are y'all doing?
Well, they're wrong, because somebody might be able to listen to him and feel closer to the Lord and truly worshiping when they're hearing the poetry and the depth of theology. So the question becomes, what do you do if your church is not using the worship style that's your worship heart language?
Yeah.
Right? Like, let's just say you truly worship with hymns and your church doesn't play any.
That happened to Len in our former church.
What would you do?
And it was hard. He, especially him, he would try and would participate, but would always feel a lack of engagement because he was just like, man, I'm trying. It's just not my thing. I cross over a little more because I didn't grow up in the black church. I didn't grow up in a white church. So I've kind of had to learn. Like, I love Hillsong. I love Chris Tomlin, all that. Len struggled. And he just kind of goes with it because other things in the church were more important, so it helped him overlook that. But then the question, kind of where you're going at, is how important should it be? Like, shouldn't that be the core of your experience in church, or no?
I think we have two choices when you're in a church that's not doing what you want. Or you're listening to a radio station that doesn't play the style of music you like.
Hey, Lord, better not be WTRF. Because we play everybody's style.
Well, actually, we get people complaining we don't play hymns.
Yeah, we do.
And so you got two choices. Suck it up,
Oh,
deal with it, or leave. I know it sounds rude, but if you're in a church that you really don't feel like you can worship there, don't go and complain to everybody so that the whole congregation of 50, 100, 200, 1,000 people needs to conform to your personal preference. There is a church out there that does your heart language of worship. So either deal with it or go there. But what people do is they say, my preference is better, therefore you must conform to my preference. Even if nobody else in this room likes my style of music, you need to do it because that's what I like. That's outrageous thinking, and totally inappropriate. It's like, I don't know what to say to people that write us. Got one person that texts us all the time. Why don't you guys play hymns? Why don't you guys play hymns? We don't do that as a radio station.
yeah.
Go to Majesty Radio if you'd like.
Yeah.
You can go find hymns somewhere else, download them. But just because you want to hear it doesn't mean we're going to do it.
Yvonne on YouTube joining others who are watching from YouTube. Can I tell you something? Can you come here? Like, why don't you go right there and press on that button? Why are you trying to be difficult? Like, trying to play hard to get. Subscribe to YouTube, engage in the discussion. We know you think it's something about music style. So join the discussion like Yvonne, who says, good morning, Brian and Janelle. I think whatever song glorifies the Lord and lifts up your spirit is serving the purpose. Songs can heal, deliver, and save the human heart. And then there are others here. Somebody made a comment about Amazing Grace. Even Amazing Grace. Patricia, what's up? Even Amazing Grace. I have a friend who despises that particular hymn because the writer continued in his sin for years after writing it. God has forgiven him, but she hasn't.
Oh, that's so hard.
And the sin...
Apparently her friend is without sin.
Isn't there like a slavery story connected to that?
Yeah, he was the guy who wrote it. I forget his John Newton, maybe? No.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was.
Don't quote me on that. He was a slave trader. And became a Christian, stopped doing that, became a pastor, wrote that song.
Okay.
Of course he kept sinning. He's a human.
Yeah. Patricia, okay, let's calm down. Brandon is absolutely right today.
Yeah.
He's going to go home now with a big head telling Sarah, did you hear what Patricia said? So y'all need to not do that. And then Tammy agrees. She says, yes, you do play everyone's style. But we know we don't. Because like you said, hymn is one we hear a lot.
I mean, we try to be as wide-ranging as possible. No, that's not even true. Because of the makeup of the population we serve, we feel like we play modern worship, And we try to play those that are in praise and worship and cross over into gospel, because that serves the needs of our listeners best. Do we have
Yeah.
people who like hymns? Sure. But, I mean, to be a successful radio station, you can't play a hymn followed by a hip-hop song, followed by contemporary worship,
Yeah.
followed by old school gospel, followed by country, followed by, I mean, come on, you can't do that. So, yeah, there you go.
What do you tell people? You hear it with rap, and then I'm sure you would hear it with contemporary music. The friend that I'm thinking of that agrees with the person that has the whole idea about drums and percussion instruments, her general idea is our music cannot sound like the world. It has to stand apart, which I'm wondering if some people that do hymns also have that same idea.
You know what, though? If somebody needs that, even though I think they're wrong theologically, you go for it.
No, but they say it's wrong. Like, if our music sounds like the world.
I got a problem with that. But if somebody goes, you know, I get distracted by musical instruments, so I want one random guy singing a cappella. Okay. You know, go ahead. If that's your heart language of worship. But
Yeah.
I don't like when people walk around saying theirs is better and yours sucks because...
Yeah, because of some theological reason or made up. Miss Anita says, we have all kinds of different music. It has worked for us for 25 years. She is first lady and in charge of Brian. When people say they don't like a song, I usually lovingly tell them that we aren't singing to them. Wow. Go home and listen to what you like and show the patience of the Lord with your brothers and sisters in the body for the 2 hours out of the week that you're here. I mean, hey.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. We're not singing to you. I love it.
Mike agrees with Brian. Churches need to try and satisfy a large number of people's preferences, but yes, if it doesn't help you to worship deeper, then find a church that helps with that, along with preaching. But how important is that compared to other things with churches? Should that be a reason you leave a church? What? They don't play your worship style? If they got everything else.
My question is, why did you start going to that church anyway?
I mean, because of other reasons. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, you're going to have to compromise.
Well, then you compromised on music and quit your whining.
No, not complain. I'm saying, is it okay for that not to be a priority that you not compromise on?
I think we should commit to a church body as best we can, but it's okay to go to a different one. You shouldn't hop around all the time, but you know what? If you really get to the point where you're like, man, I'm just not worshiping, but I love this community of believers, I want to try something else, go them and love them on the way out.
Yeah.
And be kind and gracious and pray for them.
Yeah.
I think it's okay. Don't you?
Yeah.
I think you can leave for that reason. If it really is bothering you, come on, get out of there.
But if you don't, are you compromising worship in your personal life? Like, is it that deep?
I don't know. Go buy a CD or album.
Right. Maybe because of what Miss Anita says. It's 2 hours. You should be worshiping all week.
Yeah. Like you don't. Yeah. Just do it some other time. Or
wow, he's very disturbed. He plays the bass, y'all. So he's in the worship team. And so he probably got some baggage connected to this. If you guys want to ask him questions. Have you had people complain to you?
Everybody's got an opinion about the music.
Have people gone up to you and be like, what did y'all play today? That was crazy.
Oh, I have a buddy who became a worship leader. He's super talented. And it just about crushed his soul. Because after every service, people wanted to give him commentary. That's too fast, that was too slow, that was too loud, that was too soft, I hated that song, I love that song.
Dang,
Don't play that song, you should be playing this song.
We have literally, for one song, it's happened a couple times, gotten texts back to back. Somebody's like, that was too loud. And somebody was like, man, that was awesome. And so it kind of gives me the behind the scenes of like a church. Like, wow, you can't satisfy everybody.
You cannot.
Sandy says, joining you late. It's her birthday.
Hey!
Sandy. She says, all worship styles are valid as long as they're truly worshiping in spirit and truth. God understands all languages and is pleased with any worship coming from the love in our hearts. And Carrie says, you can have percussion in hymns. And then Carrie says, what about the churches that have full orchestras with percussion and only sing hymns?
I don't know. There's a lot of exceptions. I'd even go as far as to say one of the most worshipful experiences I've ever had involved absolutely no singing at all.
Wow.
There was a woman in the church I was going to, a very small church. Her and her husband were pretty new. I didn't know she was a musician. she walks up in front for the special music. You know, in some liturgical services, there's a piece of special music.
Yeah.
Maybe it's during offering or something to play while people are giving. She picks up a violin, and her husband sits down at the piano to accompany her. And it was one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard in my entire life.
Wow. That's
Some people
nice.
would have been like, oh, she's showing off or whatever. No, God gave her this incredible skill.
Yeah.
And you could tell she was being worshipful. It was so incredible. And there's no words.
Okay, before y'all leave, Brian, give me one song that's like when it comes on, you're like, oh my gosh, this is my song. Like your worship, love, like heart song.
It depends on the mood I'm in. If I'm in like a sad mood or something, I want to hear Smokey Norfol's I Need You Now.
Oh, yeah.
Ruth LaAntra, In My Name.
Yeah.
Right now it's a newer song, but it's a worshipful song for me.
Oh, yeah.
But also, it's modern but not old. It's hard to explain, but it's older. Oh, The Wonderful Cross. Oh, I think Michael W. Smith did that years ago. Just beautiful songs. I love Old Rugged Cross.
Oh, yeah.
There's just something about that song that is just beautiful. Great is Thy Faithfulness is kind of this haunting but beautiful. The melody line, the lyrics.
Yeah.
What about
Yeah.
you?
One song that comes to mind that it's like, I don't care what I'm doing. Yolanda Adams, The Battle is the Lord's, the live version. Oh my goodness, that would make me cry. Like she's,
I want to see that. You don't
you
cry.
haven't heard that?
No, I want to see you cry.
Oh yeah, no. Yeah, look that up on YouTube. The live version, because she has the regular one and it's fine, but the live version, you know how they just lose it? It's just like, that one's an awesome one.
That's it. You got one.
Well, no, I got other ones, but no, not that one. It's just, I like Even If and You Love Me Anyway. That's like Hillsong. I don't even remember who they are, but I got them on my YouTube thing. You Love Me Anyway, I love because it's like, he in the chorus, it's like, I'm the nail, I'm the cross, I'm the sweat on your brow, but you love me anyway. That one I love. And then Even If, because it reminds me of one of the stories in the Bible that I just love, and it's the three brothers or the three boys in the furnace in Daniel.
Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Yes. And when they were like, well, is your God going to save you? And they said, even if he doesn't, we still worship him. And I like that kind of faith. I don't see that a lot now because we're always putting conditions on God. Or God's awesome because. And God's awesome even if he doesn't bless you. He's still awesome. And that song encapsulates that feeling for me. Rachel says, good morning, Brian Janelle. This topic is one of those ones that will never go away, but in my opinion, it should. Brian, you certainly, okay, here we go. You certainly have given a solution. Wow. That is one side of the coin. The flip side is study of scripture and history on the subject. A worship leader should be well versed in this area. In my opinion, the debate on worship styles ends with the understanding that it's not either or, but both and. Both hymns and worship songs. Even Paul said, speaking to yourselves in psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs. That encompasses 3 different worship styles. Incorporate this and the debate goes away. Or it should.
Rachel's got it down. By the way, Eric agrees with me on Oh, the Wonderful Cross. Or The Wonderful Cross. It's a great song. From like
It
the
is
80s
well
or so,
with my
90s.
soul. That's a good one.
One of my faves. I can't believe I forgot that. It is well with my
That
soul.
is a good
Yeah.
one. Leslie says alive and breathing. Why don't y'all keep sharing your favorite songs and then, people can add them to their playlist. So please share. I know I'm always looking so that, you know what I do? So I could put my playlist on and put the volume up and ignore my kids. Woo! When they come complaining, I just start singing.
One of my favorite songs was a song, I was in a Christian band years ago, and I never play this stuff for people, but one of my buddies wrote a song that is so beautiful, and I play bass on it and such. Maybe someday if you behave yourself, I'll let you hear it.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. If I behave, what's that sound like?
Well, you're not going to hear it, basically, is what that means.
Okay, guys, keep adding your favorite songs so others can see it. Hasta luego.
And Sarah in Ecuador says she loves the remade hymns. Okay, if you like that, Sarah, go check out an album by Jaden Lavic, Lavic. It's called Roots Run Deep.
Oof.
Such a good interpretation of many old hymns with just a little twist, but it's enough familiar that you can still love it and sing along. It's so good.